What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and this is the course for this week's advanced Revit course. We're taking our house and we're doing all of the dimensioning, all of the detailing. So I add all of the dimensions. I show you how to set up the dimension style. We're going to be tagging our rooms, our windows, doors, everything like that, adding these elevation spots or spot elevations. Also here in this section, we're going to be fixing up the section as well, adding all of the annotational elements that are necessary. Also, we're going to be fixing up the site plan. So we see here we have the slope arrow for the roof. We also have some elevation points. We have our north arrow and everything is correctly oriented. Also here we have our property line. And just to top it all off, in the end, I'm going to be showing you how to create this amazing looking displaced 3D view that displaces all of the elements and shows our building, so we can see all of the construction with the foundation and then the house and then the roof and then the roof construction. Roof construction is also something that we're going to be doing in this course. And then finally the roof and some planting in front of the house. Okay, without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start off by completing this roof. Well, the sloped roof. And as you can see, it's just a regular sloped roof, but what we need to do is we need to add some construction to this roof. So for that, I'm going to add some beams running like this. So it should be like perpendicular to the length of the house. So the beams should be going like this. Okay, to do that, what we need to do is we need to create a beam system. But before we can create a beam system, we need to load in a wooden beam. If I go here into structure and into beams, as you can see, we have the concrete ones that we loaded in, and we also have the steel one that comes with the template, but we don't have any wooden ones. So I'm just going to go here to the Insert tab, go into Load Family, and here I'm just going to drop back a few folders so you can see how I got here. So if you're in US Metric or US Imperial, depending on what you want to use, I just like to go here to Structural, find Structural Framing, find the wood, and you can choose one of these. I prefer using the timber one, and I'm just going to open that up. And if you remember from this roof, we had that insulation layer that's 20 centimeters thick. Inside of that layer, I want to place my beam system. So the beam system should be at least 20 centimeters thick, or it should be exactly 20 centimeters thick. So the height of the beam should be 20 centimeters. But if I scroll down over here, you're going to notice that we don't really have any 20 centimeter beams. So I'm just going to pick one of these, perhaps this one, for example, hit OK and load it in. And now when I go here into structure, beam, I can make some edits. So I'm just going to go here into edit type. And as you can see here, it says B, that's the thickness or the width of the beam. It's 24, and the D, the height is 50 centimeters. So that's way too large. So I'm just going to go here into rename, and let's change that into, so the height should be 20 or 200 millimeters, and the width, let's go with 80 millimeters. Hit OK, there we go. And here let's do with 20, and here with 8, just because this is in centimeters and the name is in millimeters. Hit apply, okay, and there we go. So we have our beam then. Okay, now to create our beam system, let's just double check this roof just by going here into section. And as you can see over here, here's that layer. And if I go here into measure, and if I measure this, as you can see, that's 20 centimeters. Alternatively, you can get this dimension just by selecting this roof, going into edit type, and then here into structure, and here, as you can see, the core boundary and the structural layer has this insulation material. So this we just named structural because that's where the structural elements are going to be going, but the actual material isn't structural, it's only insulation, and then in between the insulation, we're going to be placing the structural beams. So let's just hit OK, OK again. There we go. Now to place this beam system, I need to host it on this roof over here. So what I'm going to be doing is go here into 3D, go into beam system, and let's first set up the beam system. So the spacing between the beams should be around 75-80 centimeters. So I'm just going to change this from fixed distance to maximum spacing, and let's do 80 centimeters. Also, one more thing, let's just double check that the beam that is here, the beam type, is the wooden beam that we want to use for this one. Also here you can maybe add some comments, image, mark. I don't really care about that, so let's just leave it like this. Okay, now let's go here and set the work plane. So this shouldn't be a horizontal beam system, it should be a sloped beam system, and it should follow this roof slope. So let's just go here to set work plane, pick a plane, hit OK. Now, as you remember from that little section that I've shown you, the layer in which, or that insulation layer, has just one layer from the bottom, just the finishing material, and on top we have a few more layers. So just because we're closer to that main structural layer from the bottom, I'm just going to pick the bottom plane of this roof to host our beam system. So just check that, and then using just the pick lines, you can do the outline of this thing. So just go here, the other side, here, and all the way to the other side, here. Okay, then you need to use the trim and extend tool just to fix this up. So just go here to trim and extend. Let's fix this corner. This one looks all right. This one looks fine. This one needs a bit of trimming and extending, and there we go. Now you're going to notice that this line over here has this two lines on the side, so that basically means that this is determining the beam direction, and in this case it's the correct direction. But just I like to make sure that the beam direction is set correct, so I just like to click over here, go then and just do a simple line in the middle. So let's find the middle of this line. It's somewhere over here, I think, and let's go like this, all the way to the other side. There we go. So once we have this all done, just hit finish, and there we go. We've got our beam system. Now for the beam system, let's maybe select it, go here into section, and I'm just going to select the whole beam system. Now you're going to notice that like this you can select it, but this only selects the beam, and if you click over here, that selects the whole beam system. So this says beam system, here it says structural beam system, and if I select this thing, it says just a regular structural framing joist. So just make sure that you select the beam system, this dashed line, and then just by clicking this button, you're going to disassociate it from the work plane, which is going to allow us to move this thing around. And that's important because we need to set it in the correct position. So once that's disassociated, what you need to do is go here with the move command, or MV is the shortcut, go and just place it over here on the inside of this layer. Now it's not going to be that visible, it's going to be visible here, and as you can see it's kind of protruding outward, and if I go into 3D it looks like this, and that's not really the way it should look. So I'm just going to select the whole beam system again. So you can see here I select just one beam, and like this I can select the whole beam system. Okay, select the beam system, go into edit boundary, and using the align tool I'm just going to align it to this here line. So let me do that again. So if you hover over this, you're going to get either one of these two planes, but if you hit the tab key, you get the second plane, one more time, and you get the line. So just make sure you align it with the line, hit finish. There we go, now it's inside. And if I just select this roof, as you can see, it becomes a bit transparent, and now we can see all of our all of these beams, or the whole beam system. And if I go here into section, it's probably not going to be visible because we're not cutting through it. But if I go to the other section, as you can see here, we have those beams, and it looks perfect. So we have our beam system, and we have our structural part of the beam, and later on we can of course calculate how many beams we have in this roof. That's the important part. Okay, moving on, let's do other roof components. So this roof looks pretty much finished, but you need to add some more elements. Luckily, Revit gives us a few more options that we can use on this roof. So if I go here into architecture, open up the roof drop menu, you're going to notice that we can do the fascia, we can do the gutter, and we can do the soffit. So let's start off with the roof fascia. So here, as you can see, you just need to pick a line of the roof, and it's going to do the fascia there. And if I just select this thing, and here, as you can see, for the you can do some profile offsets. Also, you can go into edit type, and you can choose a different profile. So these are all none of these are 20 centimeter, or maybe we should check the whole thickness of our roof first. So I'm just going to select the roof, and here, let's see. Okay, the thickness is 25 centimeters. And if I select this and go into edit type, we don't really have any that are 25 centimeters. So let's look into it. How can we change this thing? So it's M fascia flat. So let's see where we can find that thing. Let's just hit OK for now. Go here into families. And let's see, for profiles, fascia flat. There we go. That's the one that we're using. So we can just double click this. And here for the height, let's do 25 centimeters. Hit OK. And as you can see, it extended. So now it's the correct length. We could have changed the name. I just didn't bother at this point. Now let's add some more segments. So add a segment here. Segment here. You can flip it to the other side, but that's not what I want to do. Let's select it again, add segments. There we go. And let's add one more segment over here. Okay, one here. There we go. Looks perfect. So we have that roof fascia. Okay, and also you can set the material. So if I select just the roof fascia, I can go here into edit type, and here I can change the material, and I'm just going to choose some wood material. Let's see. Let's go with birch wood. Hit OK, apply, OK, there you go. So we have that roof fascia. Now for the, if I go here into my roofs, so for the soffit, I don't really need a soffit. That would make sense if we had a roof that has more sides like this in this little animation that we get. But for now, for this project, I don't really need it. But what we do need is a gutter. So let's do that. So I'm just going to select that. So here we have a gutter, and let's place it here on this side of the roof, maybe here. There we go. Now you can select it and you can play around. You can go into edit. Here is the options that we have, maybe a bigger one. Hit apply. There we go. Looks maybe a bit more defined. And there we go. We have our gutter. So that's really important for the water. So there we go, for the water that's falling off our roof. So we have our gutter, we have our fascia, and also we have our roof construction. So now this sloped roof is perfectly completed. Now let's move on to creating some dimensions. So I'm going to go to my floor plan, and here this is the floor plan, and this is going to be the complex floor plan with all of the dimensions, all of the stuff. This is going to be like the ready for construction floor plan. One thing that I don't really need inside of this floor plan is the planting. I don't really need to see trees. Usually trees I like to represent in my site plan, but here just for my regular floor plan, it's going to be for all of the builders and all of the engineers. I like to keep that plant free. So I'm just going to go into VG, so just type in VG for visibility graphics, scroll down and find planting and just uncheck it. Hit apply. Okay, there we go. It looks a lot better now that we don't really have that kind of cluttered workspace. Okay, now we can start adding dimensions. So first I'm just going to add a bit more space here, a bit more space here, and I'm just going to flip this from 1 to 100 to 1 to 50. That's usually what you use for these kind of high detail plans. So let's say this works. Everything looks nice. As you can see, the hatches are now a bit smaller, and we can turn off thin lines so we can see the way that this will look like when it's printed out. Okay, so once I have this, now it's time to start dimensioning. The first thing I like to dimension are these here, the grids. So for those, let's go into dimension. Now for dimensions, you can go here and into the quick access toolbar. Alternatively, you can go here to annotate, find aligned dimension, or my favorite option is to use the I shortcut for dimensions. Okay, so now for these dimensions, it's really simple. So you just go from first grid to second grid to third grid to the final one. And if you mess up somewhere, just click on the same element, and then you are basically removing it from the dimensioning it. So just like this, you select all of them, and then you just place it somewhere by hitting here in free space or somewhere here. And there you go, you just click, and there we have a dimension. So it was easy to dimension these grid lines because it's just the grid lines, and we can do the same thing on the other side, just dimensioning the grid lines, just like that. Okay, for walls, it's a bit more complex. As you can see, when you come into walls, it's usually going to go to the center line and here to the center line of the of this batting insulation line. And usually you have to hit the tab key one or more times just to select the right edge. So it can be a bit annoying. So what I like to do is I like to switch this from wall center line to wall faces. So I'm just going to go here to wall faces, and also let's turn on thin lines just to make sure that we're selecting the correct line. And just to make it a bit easier on us when working in the exterior views, I like to go with, instead of individual references, to entire walls. And here for options, just make sure you check openings and check widths. Now, while we're working on the outside or the exterior of the building, I like to do just the openings, and then the intersecting walls I don't like to check until we go to the interior of the building. That's where you want to check the intersecting walls. So just hit OK, then you come, just select this wall, kind of extend it a little bit, and there we go. We've got all of the dimensions. Here we can go to this wall, extend it, click here, there we go. Now I'm just going to go here to modify, select this, go add witness lines, or you can go EW or EW, yeah, for adding. And now you can add perhaps this door, just like that. Okay, this is going to be really thin. Then this garage door, and let's do the end segment of the wall. Okay, go back to modify, and of course let's save the project when Revit asks us to save the project. Oh, and that messed up our dimension, too bad. So just go back here, just adding a few of those lines. Now be careful here that you don't accidentally check one of these. That's why I went into thin lines, so I can really zoom in and make sure that everything is correct. Okay, there we go. We've got this line, so that looks fine. Now, what I also like to do is maybe let's move this dimension a bit closer, and I like to do one that's just the walls, so no openings, just the walls. So for that one, let's go back into dimension, and we can either do entire walls, but for this one just being as is, let's turn to individual references. So let's do this one, this one, this one, and this one. So there you go. So I like to have one that's just the grids, then one that's just the exteriors of the walls, and then one with all of the openings. Also, let's add one more. I think it's also nice to have like the whole perimeter of the house, or the whole width of the house. So just like this, and let's add even that one. So usually I like to have like this 4 lines of dimensions, and let's make sure that we space them correctly, just like this. There we go. Now it looks correct. Same thing on this side. We have the individual ones for the actual openings. Now let's do just the one for the exterior, and here we have just one line. So for that we can go align dimension, entire walls, no openings. Okay, just click here. And there we go. It was a quick job. Okay, moving on, and just do the other sides the same approach. So you just go here, entire walls, turn on openings, you do the entire wall, click once, you escape, you select it, you go edit witness lines, and then let's edit this door and the wall. And on the other side, again, go edit witness line, and let's add the end of this wall. Click there. There we go. Then for the second one, you just go here with align dimension. I'm just going to go again with individual references. Go from here to here to here and to this line here, and just place it over there. And for the final one, let's just go from here all the way here and place it there. And there we go. Basically, we just need to repeat that on the other side as well. Now, before we go to the interior dimensions, one thing that I like to set up is these sections. So I'm just going to move this section over here, and just keep in mind that when you're moving the section using this drag point over here, you're just moving the annotational element of the section. And by moving this part, you're actually moving the view window into the section. So we're just making an alteration to the annotational element here on screen, and we're not changing the actual section. So I'm just going to change it like this. And one more thing, I'm just going to split it in half. So we have this option over here that's going to split our section in half, so we can move it over here like this and over here like this, so it doesn't protrude too much to the inside of our in our interior. And let's move it this over here, maybe this move it in a bit, and let's split it in half like this. Okay, there we go. So we've got those two sections now kind of altered a bit. Also, one more thing that I can already see as a potential problem is all of the furniture inside. Now, all of this furniture is basically the same color as the rest of it, so if I turn off thin lines, so as you can see, it looks like this. So here we have a bunch of these lines here, and I think it might be a bit off, especially when I add the dimension lines on the inside. It might be too much overlapping line work, and this is going to be too excessive on the drawing. So what I like to do is I like to turn this to halftone, and of course you can do it systematically by going into VG, but keep one thing in mind. So if I select this chair over here, as you can see, it's furniture. But if I select maybe this here gas stove, as you can see, it's a generic model. If I select the fridge, it's electrical equipment. If I select the bathtub, it's specialty equipment. And if I select the wash basin, it's generic model. The toilet is plumbing fixture. So all of these are categorized a bit different. The car, let's see what the car is. The car is a generic model. So keep in mind that you have to select multiple categories and then turn their visibility to halftone. So just go into VG, type in VG, or go here to visibility graphics and go into edit, and then we'll just start playing around. So we have our, let's see, so electrical fixtures and electrical equipment. Let's go to those, turn those to halftone. So here it says halftone, just check there. Then let's see, what else do we need to do? Okay, furniture, that sure needs to be turned to halftone. Let's see what else do we have. Pipe, plumbing, let's see. Okay, plumbing fixtures, turn that to halftone. Where are generic elements? Generic models, turn that. Furniture systems, maybe that, who knows, maybe we have some of those. Do we have electrical fixtures? Yeah, we already turned those. Okay, should be all of those, so let's hit apply. Okay, there we go. Okay, this one is specialty equipment. Now, it might be a bit too much time to go again into VG and find those, so in these cases where you have just one more to edit, I just suggest you right-click anywhere on screen, go override graphics in view, by element, and then turn on halftone. Hit apply, okay, and there we go. So now, as you can see, the floor plan looks a lot cleaner, and if I start placing these dimensions on my floor plan, they're going to look a lot better. Okay, now it's time to dimension our interior of this house. So what I like to do is just go here to align dimension, and now just make sure you keep at wall faces, but here go with entire walls, and in options, let's just do the openings, but also intersecting walls. Hit OK, and then if we select this wall, place dimension over here, you're going to notice that it dimensions pretty much everything. Go into thin lines just to make sure that it's dimensioned in the correct place. Okay, this looks correct. Yeah, we have everything on that wall. So then we can select perhaps, oops, remove instance. Okay, here it's having some trouble because of this curtain wall. So let's just hit escape. We're going to do that one later on. Let's do this one. Place dimension there. Or maybe let's select the dimension, move it over here. And then if I go again to dimension, do this wall, I can align it in the same. Oops, I added accidentally another dimension. So let's just align it like this. And here for this segment, let's go edit witness lines and let's remove that one. Okay, and just click anywhere to exit out of that. Okay, so we have this dimension. Let's see what else. Let's go with another dimension, go with this wall, place it maybe there, then maybe go with this wall, place it here, then you can go with this wall. Oh yeah, that's the one that we can't. Okay, for that one, I'm just going to select this dimension, go add witness lines, and then let's add one here, one, oops, not that one, so let's click there again, and then let's do the edge, do the window, do the edge, and then do the thickness of the wall. Okay, that looks fine. Click anywhere, there we go. Again, edit witness lines, and here we have this edge of the wall. That one we don't need, so let's click there to just remove that from being dimensioned, and the rest looks fine, so let's click anywhere. Okay, so we've got one big one going there. Where else? We can do one over here through this wall, so for that one maybe go with a... Now in these cases it's going to be really tough, so just go and dimension maybe like this, place it there. Now once placing it, try not to click a line like this on the floor, because it's then going to dimension that line, and that's not what you want to have. So maybe click just like this, and then you have to select the dimension and then edit witness lines. So edit this and this, add maybe here this, yeah, add that door, add this wall, maybe even this thing, that thing, and thickness of the wall, and then just click anywhere in empty space. Okay, so this looks fine enough. So just add dimensions like that until you basically pretty much dimension everything inside of the house. And as you can see over here, now we have something that's a bit more representable, so I think I have dimensioned most of the things that I need to dimension. But before we continue, I would just like to point out one little thing. So here you're going to have some places where your dimensions overlap. So what you can do, you can select the dimension, and then underneath each number you get this little drag point. So I'm just going to move it out of the way over here. Now you're going to notice that we have this leader, or just a line that's kind of showing you where that number is connected to. Now in this case it's connected to this dimension, but usually I don't like to kind of move it out of the way. I just like to keep it maybe a bit off to the side. So in those cases I really don't like to have that little leader. So what you can do is you can go here into edit type, and now it might be a good time to start editing this dimension style. So here, just for that leader, just let's find it. So let's see. Do we have some option for that? Okay, so when text moves away from the origin, so here you can have that leader, or here I can select it and make it when it moves beyond the witness lines. So let's see how that works. So now if I move it here, okay, so when I go over here, it's going to show, but once it's inside of this, it's not going to show. I think it's a better option to have it like that, and then you can play around with these dimensions without getting that ugly leader, unless you're moving it so far away that you really want to show where it's connected at, like perhaps here. Okay, now let's continue editing this dimension style. Now these dimensions, they're decent enough. I think you can go ahead and just use it as is, but what I like to do is, in most cases, I like to play around and maybe edit the dimension style so it fits just make it look nicer, I guess. So what I'm just going to select it over here, and let's maybe put this off to the side like this so we can still see the model, but we can also have enough room here for our type properties for the dimensions. Okay, so let's see what can we change over here. So as you can see here, we have our tick mark. It's the diagonal 3 mm, and we have some more options over here, but yeah, let's make something else. So let's go with fill the dot. So let's see, do we have fill dot, but it's only 3 mm, so it looks like this. I think it's a bit too large. So let me just hit OK for now. Then I'm going to go here to my Manage tab. Here we have some additional settings, and once you open that drop menu, here you have arrowheads, and let's just change this to that. Where is it? Fill the dot 3 mm. Let's duplicate it and let's make it half that size. So I'm going to go with 1.5, hit OK, and then it stays dot, but for the tick size, let's go with 1.5. Okay, hit OK, then go back to our dimension line, edit type, and here let's go with that 1.5 mm dot. And there we go, looks a lot better. Okay, moving on, what else can we change? So let's see. Do we have what other options we have? So first, for the text, I like leave the width factor at 1. You don't want to skew the text. For the text size, I think 3 mm is alright, but for the offset, I like to keep it a bit lower. So let's hit apply. Yeah, maybe even lower. So let's go with 0.7, maybe even 0.5. Hit apply. There we go. I think it looks a bit better. Also, we can use that background, so you can turn it from opaque to transparent, so you don't have that here in walls, as you can see, but I like to have them when going through these walls, so let's bring that back to opaque, and now you can see the dimension over here at the wall. For the text font, Arial, I can't stand for that, so let's change that to Century Gothic, which is my favorite font. Of course, you can choose any one that you like. Hit apply. There we go. Looks a lot better. You can make it bold if you want. I'm not going to do that. Let's hit apply. Also, you can change the color of pretty much everything. So you can go here to color and maybe change it to some gray. Hit OK. Apply, and as you can see, it kind of grays it out. Or maybe we can add some color. Let's try with some blue like this, but let's drag it down. Yeah, something like this I think would look a bit better. Okay, so you can do that. Also, you can play around with these dimension settings. So here we have witness lines that are line to gap element, so you can change that. So let's do that at, I don't know, let's try at 5. Hit apply. There you go. So now this is set to 5, but also here you can do gap to element or fixed from dimension line. So if you go fixed from dimension line, currently it's 2.4. Let's try it at 3 mm. I think it looks a bit better. Hit apply. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better now. Hit OK. There we go. So it doesn't have those ugly lines going all the way to the building. It looks like this, and I think it's a lot cleaner and a lot more elegant in the design of those dimensions. So those are the dimension lines. I like to leave them just like this. Also, we can add some more dimensions. So if we go here to annotate, of course, these regular aligned dimensions aren't the only ones that we can place. We can also add just some maybe spot elevation dimensions. And the good thing about this is it actually picks the point. So if you go over here, pick a point, and you can place it like this. So it says 0, 0, that's just because this is 0, 0. But of course you can, I like to do one here inside, outside of the house, and then one I like to do inside of the house, maybe like this. Just to make sure that everybody understands that it's the same height outside and inside. Maybe one in the garage as well, as that's a bit of a different area of the house. Also, you can select this thing, go into edit and play around. Maybe we can do that same color. If I can pinpoint the color, like that. Hit apply, okay. There we go. So now this is, as you can see, blue the same way. Also, maybe edit the font so it's the same font as the dimensions. So let's go to Century Gothic. There we go. Hit apply, okay. Yeah, looks a bit better. Of course, this is a lot better to use in the site plan. So if I go here to my site plan, here I can put those. Now, of course, this is just a flat plane, but if I had some differences, that would be visible. So for example, if I go here, spot elevation, maybe place one over here. So that's the rooftop, maybe one over here. That's like the tallest point. And one over here at like the lower point of this roof. Also, another thing that we can do, place one here, just like that, and then maybe one over here. So it shows the correct heights. Also, maybe one here, and one here as well. Just to show the difference that there's a little 5 centimeter step between these two. Also, let's split this section line like this. What else can we add to this site plan? So for the site plan, as far as annotation goes, I like to add slope, a spot slope, so just like this, and then you just come to the roof and you just place it like this. Now, as you can see over here, first of all, okay, let's save it. But first of all, the font needs to be changed, but also the units used. I don't really like these units, this type. So it's like a drop is 268 millimeters for each 1000 millimeters in length. I prefer using just decimal degrees. So I'm going to go here into edit type. First, let's change that font to the one that we use for everything. So Century Gothic. Also the color, let's go with that same one. Just a bit grayish. There we go. And also here you have these units format, and you can go there and edit that down to decimal degrees. And let's go OK, apply. There we go. So it's 15 degrees. I think it looks a bit better than the other way around. And you can also go here into edit type and maybe bring the text offset down to something that I would prefer, like 0.5. So let's hit delete, 0.5, hit apply. Okay, that looks a lot better. So we have that slope over here. Also, another thing you can add to this site plan is, of course, the property line. So just go here to massing and site, and here we have a property line, and let's create by sketching. And then you just go here as a rectangle, and maybe it can go like this. So let's say this is the property on which we have our house. So let's go, maybe make it a bit smaller like this. There we go, looks all right. And then you can select it, and there we go, we have our property line. One more thing without which any site plan is incomplete is, of course, the north arrow. Also, we need to talk about orienting our project in a correct way. Now, in this case, this project or this site plan view is oriented in such a way that would suggest that the north is facing over here. So where our like outside dining area, this is where the north would be. Now, in some cases this might be true, but in most cases you would usually orient your building to a project north, and then you also have your true north. So project north is just how you orient your building, so it's basically perpendicular to your screen, so you can easily work with it. But the true north is usually not this direction. Maybe the house would be rotated slightly or something like that. But then if you were to model in that way, it would be quite difficult to model. So what you need to do to represent this in a correct way is to create a site plan that's oriented to true north, and then the rest of your views, like the floor plan, can be oriented to your a project north, and this is project north. Now this is oriented to project north. But let's now set the true north. So for that we need to go to the site plan and we need to create the north arrow. So a north arrow is just a symbol in Revit, and you go here to the annotate tab, and here you have a symbols panel, and here we have a symbol. Now if I select the symbol, I have a center line and I also have a north arrow, but this is a north arrow that I honestly dislike. So I'm just going to go here to load family, go back a few folders, and let's search for some symbols. Annotation, do we have some? We should have a north arrow over here. Architectural. Nope, it's not here. Let's see. Okay, north arrow, we have number 1 and number 2, and I'm going to go with number 1. I prefer the look of this one. Just hit OK, and there we go. So I'm just going to place it somewhere here on the screen, and let's place it over here. And also, one more thing, usually a site plan doesn't have to be 1 to 100. You can make it a bit smaller, so I'm just going to go 1 to 200, and then maybe play around with this annotation. Oops, just a little bit. Maybe set it in a correct location, and same thing goes with these, perhaps. Set them like this. Okay, so now once we have all of this in place, let's now rotate our north arrow. So I'm just going to go here to the rotate tool, and let's say that the true north is like, I don't know, like 30 degrees, like this. So true north is over there. So what we need to do now to orient our project in a correct way, because the whole house should be rotated and this arrow should be pointing upwards to north. So to orient your building, what you need to do is you need to go here to your Manage tab. Here we have Project Location Options, and then go to Position, and you have Rotate True North. Okay, so it must be visible, so let's just go over here, and we need to uncheck this, and maybe move it out of the way, and also unpin this. And for this one, this is just your project location, so we can maybe move this to the corner of the house or something, to a more desirable location like here. So just make sure that you've changed the clip state, so you unclip it, and then go back to your Manage tab, go back to Position, Rotate True North. Okay, one more thing that we need to do is we need to go here to Orientation and change it from Project North to True North. Hit Apply, and again, finally, should work now. Okay, there we go. So we should just go and rotate this by 30 degrees. So if I go here, 30 degrees, and there we go. Now our north arrow is pointing upwards, and our project is basically correctly oriented. One more thing that we need to do now, maybe let's move this out of the way a bit, perhaps like this. Okay, one more thing that we need to do is we need to turn on shadows, just to make this a bit more realistic. Now you get kind of realistic shadows for this project. So there you go, now it's correctly oriented. And by the way, these elevation symbols might look a bit annoying, so you can grab it here in this drag point and then extend it just a little bit, and then position it a bit better, so this might look a bit nicer. Same thing here, we can extend it a bit, then place it like this. Same thing with this one. Just when changing the scaling, it might mess up some of your annotations, so just keep that in mind, that you can always select here this drag point and then kind of position it in a better way. Same thing goes with this one. So just grab this drag point, move it out of the way, perhaps orbit it just a little bit. There we go. And the same thing goes with these two. So we can go maybe like this. Maybe extend it a little bit more. There we go. So that works now. Maybe move this out of the way a bit, because usually you don't want to have too many annotation elements in the shadow, just because of this kind of the background that it has. So it might be a bit annoying. Also, one more thing, this shadow is way too dark for my taste. So what I like to do is always go here to my visual styles and go to graphic display options, and then just go to your shadows. Just make sure that cast shadow is on and nothing else, and then go here to lighting and maybe reduce that to 20. There we go. Looks much better. You still have shadow. It's still basically conveying the idea that here one part of the building is in shadow, and you basically get the idea where the sun is, and you get a bit of depth in your model, but it's not overwhelming as it was. Also, one more thing, we don't need to see grid lines at this scale, so I'm just going to hold the control key, select all of the grid lines, also perhaps add these elevation symbols also to our selection, and then just right click in empty space, hide in view by element, and there we go. And then if you want to find it later on, just go here to reveal hidden elements, and there you go, here they are. So let me just go out of that menu for now. Now let's talk about tagging. So I'm going to go back to my 00 floor plan, and here we have a bunch of doors, windows, walls, and we need to tag them all. So to tag elements in Revit, what you need to do is you need to go here to the Annotate tab, and there is really a great automated way of doing tags. So you can either tag by category or tag all that's not tagged, but I prefer using tag by category just because it's a bit simpler to go all around. So you just go here, and let's go with horizontal tagging. So basically that means that the number is going to be horizontal, and if you switch this to vertical, that means that the number is going to stand, well, vertically. But horizontally it's easier to read it, so that's why I do it that way. So you can also flip through these by hitting the space key. Then here we have all of the tags that are loaded in, so you can check those. You just scroll here through all of the categories, and then you can see what's loaded in. And of course you can load in something if that's what you desire. Also here we have the leader, so if I turn that off, it's just going to place the tag like this. It might even work better just by placing it like this in the middle of elements. So here around windows it's going to go like that, and indoors it's going to go in the middle. And here for walls it's just going to be a bit weird because it's, as you can see, like this. And I don't really like that. I prefer having the leader for the wall tag. Let's go back. Also here we have attached end and free end, and if you set it to free end, as you can see, you can kind of play around with it. And if you're at attached end, then it's at a certain distance. But without the leader, it's a bit better to do like this for just the doors. So as you can see, Revit already has an idea of which number is which element going to be based on how it was placed. And so you just have to go like this and place your tags. Just select all of the elements that you want to tag, and oops, I tagged the wall there. So just go like this, and there you go. That's how you place tags. Same thing for windows, and you're going to notice that it has a different kind of a surrounding bubble for your window and for your door, and for doors it's just like an ellipse, and for windows it's this hexagon, and for walls it's going to be like a 4-point like rectangle. So you can just add your tags wherever you need to have them and whatever you need to tag. Also you can tag this door on your curtain wall, but you will have to come in later on and add in the number. So maybe, I don't know, let's add 20. And if you want to do it all at once, you can always go here to tag all, and let's do door tags, let's do window tags. What else? I don't think I want to tag anything else. Maybe room tags, hit apply, and there we go. So now it basically tagged everything that it recognized that it needed to tag. Also, it added these room tags, so if you don't want those, you can remove them, but I guess it's useful to have them even on this this floor plan, even though we do have them here in the room diagram. This is basically something that you maybe show to the client, or when you're showing off the whole house to be sold, so they get the idea of what it looks like. But also it's nice to have it even in this view. Just keep in mind to place it correctly, so it doesn't interfere with the furniture or with any of the dimensions. Also, once you've tagged everything, you might have to go again all the way around and just to check where everything is positioned, just because it's going to have some overlap. So here we have some overlap, but it's not that bad. Here it is bad, so maybe you can move it a bit down like this. So you might have to play around, go all the way around and see where you have to make some changes to the tags and to the position of tags, so it doesn't interfere with the actual dimensions. Now here for the windows, it usually doesn't interfere just because they're on the outside, so it's a bit easier. Same thing with these doors when the walls are quite thick. But here we might move this out of the way. So you just have to go all the way around and just make sure that nothing is overlapping. So that's a bit annoying, but it will make everything look quite nice. Also, you can even tag materials. Now that might be useful if you want to tag maybe the floor finish in some areas. So for example, here on the outside, I've got that nice wood finish. So what I like to do is I like to tag that in some way. So I'm just going to go here to the material tag and then select that. And as you can see, now I can place here that I have that material. So I basically emphasize the fact that here we have some nice softwood siding used for this. Okay, now once we have finished this amazing looking floor plan, now it's time to move to our section. So this is the section that I'm going to be detailing. So let's just set the scaling to 1 to 50, just so we have more room to add more of our dimensions. Okay, now let's start adding dimensions. So I may want to extend this a little bit, and then here for align dimensions, maybe we can dimension the so let's just dimension the grids. And if you're getting this, it kind of wants to snap to the center line of this wall, so you just need to hit the tab key just to make sure that you snap your dimension to the grid line. And then let's place it like this. Now the rest of the dimensions are of course going to be like vertical dimensions, so I'm just going to be going like this to level 1, then maybe to, yeah, let's go to the rooftop and extend it like this. Then let's go to the inside, maybe like this. Then let's just go all the way to the top. Now notice that here, if you have sloped lines, it's not really going to be wanting to snap. So what you need to do is you need to just go here to the end point, snap to the point, and there you go. And then you can go to the top of the wall, and then you can just place your dimension. Of course, we need way more of these, so let's go like this. Now you can actually snap to exact layers, so let's just snap like this. The window, of course. And then here, of course, you won't be able to snap to layers, but you can do it like this. So we do have an option of basically dimensioning some of these layers, but of course it's going to be hard when you have a sloped roof like this. Over here, we can maybe dimension the roof like this. It's going to be a bit easier. So we can do all of the layers just like that and place it over here. And then for the heights, I can basically just go from down here, do maybe one of these, and then you can go here to this point. And even maybe try to snap to this point just to show the difference in height that you're going to have from one side of the room to the other side of the room. I think that's nice to have. And then let's just do the same one over here with the layers, so with the structural material and the finish, and then of course doing the window as well. And for this one we can finish it over here. So you basically do the same thing for anywhere where you need to have these vertical dimensions. And also one more thing that I should probably mention about these dimensions, you're going to notice that the dimension style with the little circles that we've created, or the dots, is going to be carried through even to this section. So once you create one dimension style, it's going to be basically taken to all of the other rooms. Also, here I have this section, so I'm just going to split it in half just to make it look nicer, like the ones that we have in our floor plan. Okay, with that in place, let's play around with slope elevation. So that's this, or a spot elevation. So that's this over here. So we can use that even in sections. So you can come over here, maybe to some element, and then you basically say, okay, the height over here is that. We can also maybe dimension the height over here, just like that. So all of the important spots you might want to kind of dimension for this. So maybe this line as well. Tops of windows or doors, stuff like that. Or these structural elements like this, but I've already dimensioned it there, so I'm not going to do it here. Maybe do one like this. There we go. And you can always do the ones for the floor, just like that. So just place it there. Maybe one more over here. And you can do the same thing for the foundation. So you can do the top of foundation as well as the bottom of foundation. So you can add those wherever you see fit. So I think this will do as far as the height, these height elevations. Also, let's go with slope arrow, so we can place it over here just to tell us about the slope of this roof. So you can always flip it around, but of course I want it to be on top of the roof. And also let's go here into edit type. Let's go back to our units, and for the unit symbol I'm just going to turn on the actual little circle that indicates that these are degrees. I think it looks a bit better. And this being Revit, even though we did that change over here in our section, if I were to go to my site plan, you can see it changed here as well. So that's really nice. Let's go back to our section. And let's just quickly go over tagging for this section. So you just need to go here to your annotate tab, go to tag all. So it's going to be really quick. And then here, let's do the doors. I'm going to do the windows. And also here we have these structural elements. So we can do structural framing, for example. And then if I hit apply, okay, there we go. So we've tagged our windows, doors, windows in section also, but also these structural elements. So if you go over here, you're going to notice that we have this tag. But I don't really like the way this looks. So the first thing I want to do with this tag is to switch it to standard instead of boxed, so it doesn't have that outline. So maybe we can select all of them and go to standard. And also the numbers and the text is way too large and it's the wrong font. It's not our Century Gothic. So I'm just going to go select one of these, go into edit family, and then just select the text, go into edit type, and let's just duplicate it to do a 2mm text. Let's remove this. Okay. Switch from Arial to, of course, our favorite Century Gothic. There we go. And here for text size, switch that to 2mm. And also we can do the background from transparent into opaque, so it's visible a bit better. Load into project, override existing version. There we go. It looks much better. So now we can select this tag, maybe place it here. Same thing with this one. Move it maybe here off to the side. And do the same thing for the rest of these, so it looks a bit nicer. Perhaps like this. And finally this one as well. Maybe we can set it like this. Okay, there we go. So we have even our structural framing tagged in this view. Now let's switch and do one fun view. So we have all of these elements and it looks nice and it's all tagged, but it also makes sense to create a view that represents the whole construction and structure of this building. So for that, I'm going to be creating an exploded 3D view. So for that, what you need to do is go to your regular 3D view. So there we go. And go here to 3D views, and I'm just going to right click and duplicate this view. I don't really need detailing for this one. So what I'm going to be doing now is hiding these elevation symbols first. So I'm just going to select both of these, and also let's just hide this too for now. So just right click, hide in view by element, and there we go. Looks much better. So the only tough part about creating these exploded views in Revit is it's just a complex series of selections. So you have to separate your house into multiple selections and then you displace those elements. So first, what I like to do is just select perhaps these 3 trees because they're in front of the house and they're kind of messing up the view to the house. And I'm just going to select each one independently and then go here to displace elements, and this allows us to basically displace this element. So for this one, I'm just going to move it way out of the way here. Same thing for this one, just displace elements, move it maybe a bit higher, and the same with this one, move it out of the way here. And if you orbit around, you're going to notice that it actually stays there in space. Okay, the next element is going to be roofs, but of course our roofs are complex elements, so it has this fascia. Also, it has the roof, so let's select it like this. And also inside it has construction, but construction I want to leave out for now, so let's zoom in like this, so the construction is left out. But of course, this gutter I want to leave in. So this is one part of the roof, so I want to go here to displace elements, select that, and let's move this roof out of the way, like this. There we go. Then let's do the construction, displace elements, move that out of the way, just to show that here we have the construction and then we have the roof. Moving on, let's do this roof as well. So displace elements, move it out of the way. And now we can actually kind of see into our house a little bit. Now the actual house is the hardest part because we want to reveal the foundation too, so we need to lift up the house. And the easiest way that I found so far is to just do a whole selection, select everything, orbit around, and then by just holding the shift key, remove elements from selection. So we basically just need to remove the whole foundation like this, maybe orbit around, just do clever orbiting, and then let's try to remove like this. So just all of the foundation walls and the whole foundation, and the rest should stay selected. Okay, now we can go here to displace elements and move this whole thing up. There we go. And now let's select the rest of this. So maybe do selection like this. Okay, everything is selected, and move that up. Just like that. And it actually looks quite good. So we have our foundation over here, and then we have our house, so we can move the house a bit down. So we just want to show that there is a foundation below the house. Then here we have one roof, and the second roof as well. And here we've got some trees that are coming above. Okay, so once you have all of these views, it might make sense to play around a bit with the shadows. So let's go here to graphic display options. For shadows, make sure that both types are turned on, and here for lighting, just turn down these like dropped shadows. So let's go with 20 maybe. There we go, looks much better. And now it's always good to add some paths. So here maybe we can go path and add some here. Also same thing for this roof, just like that. And the same thing for these elements. Maybe one here. Nope. Maybe one here. There we go. And we can do the same thing with our trees. So just add some paths there. Okay, let's save the project so it doesn't mess up. And there we go, that looks quite cool. Now, of course, we need to play around maybe a bit with a section box, just to grab a certain part of this terrain, just like that. Okay, this is starting to look really nice. Maybe make it a bit smaller on this side. And extend it a bit here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and now to hide the section box, I'm just going to select it, go here into hide, and hide elements. I might want to just turn the shadows a bit harder, so just go here to lighting. Let's go with 25, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, looks a bit better. And there you go, so now we can see the construction. So we have the foundation, then we have the whole house, then we have the roof construction, the actual roof, and then some planting that goes in front. And I think this is a really amazing exploded 3D view. I'm just going to select this. We forgot to remove the top foundation level, so let's hide that one from the view as well. Okay, and this looks really cool now, and let's maybe crop this view just like that, so we have a view that we can later place on our sheet. Yeah, something like this. Okay, this looks really cool. Okay, there we go. So this was a nice place to finish off this part of the course, and in the next part we're going to be moving on because we need to place all of this on the sheets. We also need to do all of the schedules, and finally we need to do plumbing and all of the piping for the house, and that's going to be interesting as well. Okay, so that concludes this week's course on this house. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you with another course in a week. Bye.